Hi, I'm Candi and welcome to Wellness Wednesday. Here at Creating Sustainable You, we like to interview local businesses to talk about what's going on with them here in Chico. Today I'm here with Megs. She's a local esthetician, and we're going to talk a little bit about what that involves and what you love about it.
I mean, it's hard to start because there's so many different avenues of aesthetics. You know, as far as our licensing goes, we can do multiple different things. We can do makeup, skincare, brows, hair removal. You know, there's lots of different avenues, especially nowadays. I feel like the industry is broadening and broadening, and then definitely getting more into like the wellness category. I feel like for a long time it was very superficial, and I feel like now we're kind of working between both, not just the outward beauty, but also like the mental health side of things. And so when I first got started, just about 6 years ago, I was definitely more focused on skincare, but as you know now, I'm the eyebrow goddess, so things shifted a bit, and now I focus solely on brows. But I also like to bring in more wellness points as well. So like I carry CBD in my studio, as well as try to be an advocate for the use of that within the body and topically as well. And then just try to be like really positive and promote all the positive vibes and things like that on social media as well.
Well, you know, I think when it comes to beauty and aesthetics that, well, you know, for a long time it did have this superficial wrap to it.
Yeah.
A big part is feeling good on the outside so that you can feel good on the inside, and tapping into that inner beauty and being able to display it.
Absolutely. I completely agree.
You know, as a girl, like, brows are kind of a big deal. And, you know, a lot of my friends, like, growing up in high school, we went through the very, like, thin brow phase, and not everybody's eyebrows came back after that.
That's so
right?
true.
And that's your face.
It is. And they frame the eye areas, so when that kind of goes askew, it just kind of wonks the whole framing, you know? So in the early 90s through the early 2000s was kind of an era of very thin, over-plucked brows, and now we're in a different realm where the fuller brows are really popular. So a lot of my job is working on a little bit of brow rehab and bringing those 90s brows back to life.
Yeah, and which is interesting because I didn't realize that you could bring brows back to life so well, and now there's all kinds of things that you can do. Do you want to talk about some of those things?
Yeah, so obviously I would say that everybody is aware of just like hair removal in general, and I focus on threading. So I love threading just because we're not utilizing any like wax or chemicals, or, you know, there's a lot less product being used. It's just a very simple generic piece of thread. I twist it and then I remove the hair that way. So it's similar to like tweezing, so we're not having any heat from the wax products or oils afterwards for anybody who's prone to breakouts and things like that. And then also if you're using like a skincare product like retinol or something like acne products that can cause like a little bit of sensitivity to the skin, the threading won't exfoliate, so you're totally still able to get hair removal with the threading versus waxing. So there's kind of a lot more people are still able to get it done, and those people that are turned away with waxing can still come get threaded. So it's kind of an all-inclusive kind of service.
Yeah.
And personally, in my experience, I feel like it caused a lot less damage to the hairs, meaning if trends do change and we do go fuller, or if you had thinner brows that you preferred that way but then decided to go fuller, we're not damaging that follicle, so you have a little bit more leeway when we got regrowth and things like that, or changing your shape.
Nice.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about how you got into aesthetics? Like, you know, what made you to decide to follow this career path? And
so like I mentioned earlier, when I first started, my main focus was skincare. When I was younger, I had a lot of acne. And as we know, that is a huge deterrent on mental health. It's very tricky, it's time consuming, it's really confusing in general. I feel like there was, definitely when I was younger, there was a lot less education based around it. Thankfully we've got social media and things like this where we're able to put more education out there than we were previously. So a lot of us struggled with it for a longer time than we really needed to.
Yeah.
So my main focus was that, and then once I got into the world, it was really cool just to see how many ways that we could pivot. The beauty industry is a really great option for anybody who wants to be like an entrepreneur or anything like that, just because we have so many different avenues that we can take. So that immediately kind of drew my attention, and then also the skincare aspect. So then once I got into it, I just fell in love.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about maybe some of your favorite client interaction stories, maybe that giving anybody away.
Yeah. I mean, I would definitely have to say my number one favorite reaction is like when I do somebody's eyebrows and then they get to look after the fact and get like just stoked that they have their dream brows. Especially when we're dealing with lamination, which I didn't mention. That's a newer service, and it is a chemical process that lifts the hairs up. And so we can actually change and re-sculpt the brows with just a chemical process. My brows are laminated right now, so they're a little more lifted. I'm able to utilize them a little bit more and give a fuller shape, which, like we mentioned with the 90s brows, even if your brows are thinner, once we pull them upward and over, or however we decide to style them, we have so much more flexibility because we're utilizing every single hair instead of just what we're working with in your growth pattern. So we're able to correct that a little bit. So that's another one that's really cool because it's so wild to see a completely different shape with just your brow hairs. With microblading and things like that, obviously like the tattooing, it's a big change, obviously. We're implementing pigments and things like that, but being able to utilize just the hairs themselves is really, really cool.
Well, that's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
And then, so you said you've been sharing on your social media a lot about CBD products that you're interested in, and you carry those? And
I do. Right now I'm just carrying Winged CBD, which is a women-owned wellness company. So all of their CBD products are actually specifically designed for women. So they'll utilize special supplements and things like that to bolster the CBD and focus on like just overall body wellness, but as well as like PMSing and periods and things like that to help within the body, for pain relief or topically CBD will help with redness, irritation. It was really, really helpful when we were wearing masks a lot more frequently because that friction was super abrasive on the skin. So I was recommending CBD a lot, and for acne because it'll help reduce that inflammation and redness as well.
Yeah, we were using a CBD rose toner that was making a huge difference with, the redness and the irritation of the skin under the mask, and being able to spritz that throughout the day made such a big difference. It
helps with hydration and everything. Yeah, totally. It's really crazy how well CBD works within our body. It's such a cool process. I've been learning more and more about it now that I've kind of stepped into that advocate role. I really like to advocate for more normalcy with CBD. I feel like there's still a bit of the stigma around the CBD hemp as a whole. So as much as I wanted to promote it and get it out there, I had to kind of take a step back and educate myself, and the more I learned about it, the more ways that it was really cool to utilize it in so many different avenues, and even not just like traditional skincare, utilizing it like after a hair removal or different things like that. It's really cool how flexible it is.
Yeah, because it can help with that inflammation and everything, and just neutralize. So it's pretty neat that you incorporate that in.
Yeah, and it's super fun. I feel like, especially after the pandemic, a lot of us have anxiety or heightened anxiety post. So being able to utilize something on the skin topically, but then also something that we can utilize internally with less negative connotations or negative reactions, like prescriptions and things like that. It's kind of cool to use that to manage your anxiety a little bit without any side effects.
Yeah, and especially if you've been on that journey for a long time, to have more of an alternative option to go with
exactly.
that. Yeah.
Or even something just to kind of get your feet wet if you're not anxious all the time. You just kind of want something that'll help on occasion that works really well with the body naturally too. Yeah.
So we officially met at the Gifting Wellness Fair.
Yes.
And that was, how have things been since then? I know you said you're actually really busy with clients.
I am. That was actually my first pop-up show. So I'd never done any sort of booth or any situation like that. So, all in all, that portion was a really, really fun experience. And then to be able to just work with the public, because right now at the point that I'm at, it's all appointment only. So I'm really just seeing whoever's on the schedule. It was cool for people to just kind of come by and ask questions and keep moving and just kind of talk to Chico as a whole or the little community instead of just who I see in my studio.
Yeah, it's fun to do that outreach and get to know other people.
Yeah, exactly. I've never done brows outside. That was super fun. Just a little pop-up chair doing some threading was really cool. Showing people how to fill in their brows with a brow pencil was really fun. It was a really fun all-in-all experience. And then my friend Jules was next to me with the lashes, so we got to kind of hang out and everything like that. So it was a really fun experience.
Well, I wanted to check in and see you have social media you like to share fun tips and things on.
Yeah.
Where can we find you?
You guys can find me at on Instagram. It's at the.eyebrow.goddess. I share lots and lots of tips and tricks related to obviously eyebrows, lots of videos and tutorials and things like that.
Well, thank you so much for being on here. And is there anything else you wanted to share with everyone before we go?
I feel like we covered it all.
All right, well, thank you so much for joining us for our Wellness Wednesday. And if you'd like to follow the Eyebrow Goddess or follow us and see any of our previous or upcoming Wellness Wednesdays, find us on Instagram and Facebook at creatingsustainableyou.com. Thanks for tuning in and stay well.